Welcome to Reality Bytes with MzMetchi, where we talk about all things reality TV. All right, let's get into it. Hey, everybody, it's your girl, MzMetchi, checking in. I hope wherever you are all good and feeling super fine today. This is my new podcast, Miss Reality Bytes with MzMetchi, and I am talking to you about all things reality TV. So on each podcast episode, I'll be breaking down a reality TV favorite that is super popular that's going on that everyone's talking about. And this week is no different, okay? But before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure that you're following the Blueprint Media Company and MzMetchi on all platforms. So you can just type in at the BP Media Co. or at MzMetchi, and you know what I'm saying? Like, let's connect. I would love to connect with you. I also want to know what are some shows that you all are watching, because remember, you can put me on too, okay? So do that. And if you have some shows that you're interested in, or if you want to be a guest on this show or on my other show, The Blueprint Live, make sure you visit MzMetchi.com for more information. So tonight's topic of what I'm talking about is Netflix's show, The Ultimatum, okay? This show was extremely drama filled. Like, for anyone that watched it, it was completely off the chain. And I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't be me if I did not have a conversation about this show and what was going on. So, for those that don't know, this show is on Netflix, okay? It focuses on long-term couples who have to, they've come to an impasse in their relationship as far as who wants to get married and who does not, okay? This particular show, it featured five couples. Okay, it featured five couples all together. So we had Alexis and Hunter, Madeline and Kobe, Randall and Shanique, April and Jake, Ray and Zay. Okay, I will just say, like, the show was completely off the chain. So this is basically how it goes. You have these younger couples. I think it's extremely important to note that they were, we're talking about couples that are in their 20s. Okay, some of them looked a little bit older than 20. That, no shade. Here it is, but you had these couples, they're in their 20s. It's five of them. So they are it was actually six, because you had Nate and Lauren too, but they ended up being like a non-factor. We'll get into it. So what happens is that you have one person that has given an ultimatum to the other person. Like, basically, we're going to go through this experiment, and at the end of it, if you choose not to marry me, it's deuces, right? So the show opens up, and let me just tell you, if you have not watched it, there are spoilers that are going to be on here. So please don't be alarmed, okay? But they start off, of course, they meet each other, they're getting to know one another, they learning more about the experiment. They throw in a twist, basically saying that the partner that you came in with, you're going to end up having another partner that you live with for 3 weeks. And at the conclusion of those 3 weeks, you end up going and you are you end up living back with the person that you came on the show with. So who you gave the ultimatum to. So really fun plot twist that happened. Hunter ends up proposing to Alexis. Okay, everybody, a lot of people were giving Alexis a lot of flack. They didn't really like her. If you've watched the show, Alexis is the one. She is she's blonde, and she's got these things. She's very super outspoken, seems super money driven to a lot of people. Okay, but she knew what she wanted. She wanted Hunter to propose. So they were both kind of having some problems as far as like really establishing some really good connections. And Hunter decided that when it was time for them to choose who they were going to live with for the 3 weeks, as far as with another partner, that he, didn't want to go through with it. Alexis was having a hard time gaining a connection with someone. So she's like, hey, I can't do this. I don't want to do this, So Hunter ended up proposing. So you have Nate and Lauren, which I told you they're the couple that ended up, they kind of were a little bit of a non-factor. Okay. Basically, Nate was the one that gave Lauren the ultimatum. So it was a little bit different. Usually you see the ultimatums kind of coming from the women, like, hey, you better marry me. His biggest thing was their relationship was good, but he wanted to have children. She was not 100% sold on that. She's like, I don't know if I want to actually have children. It's not a big deal to me, And it's something that's a little bit, of course, unheard of as far as with women, like, oh, you don't want kids. That's so, it's so different. So Lauren was going to end up going with the guy Colby, who was matched up with Madeline. They're like, hey, we're feeling each other, we're going to do it. So after this first proposal between Alexis and Hunter, Nate decided that he was going to, he was going to go ahead and propose to Lauren, even though she hadn't really given him any type of update as far as, hey, I actually want to have children with you, which was his reason why he gave the ultimatum in the first place. It was a shady ass proposal because he had literally just told two other women, I'm going to pick you, I'm going to pick you, I'm going to pick you. And when he saw that those other two women had other choices, then that's when he decided to propose to Lauren. And she actually accepted, which was super, super weird to me. Okay. Super weird. So, needless to say, this knocks off 2 of the 6 couples that started the show that were featured. So now we just have Madeline and Colby, Randall and Shanique, April and Jake, and Ray and Zay. They swap couples. Okay. So they swap partners. So you ended up having Madeline that was with Randall. Okay. You had Colby who ended up with April, Shanique ended up with Zay, and Ray ended up with Jake. Okay. And anyone that has watched the show, you know that it was extremely chaotic, honey. It was chaotic. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let's break it down. Okay. Madeline, Madeline and Colby were an interesting couple. She just seemed like she hated that man's guts the entire series. Okay. She just did not seem like she was liking him. So she was with Randall. I think it's, very notable that, Madeline is a white woman, Randall was a black man. I'll be honest, there were certain scenes that were so cringy as far as in the series because, you could just tell she was kind of lusting for some BBC, if you know what I mean. If the girls that know, honey. Okay. So she was kind of like lusting after him almost in a sense, and it was super weird, but they ended up having a connection. And then you had Shanique and Zay. Okay, they were together, they're doing their thing or whatever the case is. And then you had Ray and Jake, which I'll be honest, Ray ended up being the person that I just was kind of like, you are low-key toxic as hell. She could not even tell her mate. Now she brought Zay on the show. Zay is my favorite. Let me just go ahead and say that. I don't care what anyone says. Zay was my favorite. He kept it. Zay and April were my favorites. They kept it real. But you had Ray that couldn't even tell her man why she wanted to be married. I'm like, so do you want to be married or do you not want to be married? Like, sis, I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay. We don't understand. So naturally there was a lot of angst kind of going into, living with the other partners because there were so many things that these couples were unsure about. And then you had April and Jake, where April, she's just like this strong, witty, fierce, bold woman. Like she was literally one of my favorites and she kept it 100% real. And you had Jake, who was a little bit quiet. So Jake ended up being with Ray, okay? And they spent an incredible 3 weeks together. They, you could just see like the love was unfolding, honey, like on the series between them. And it was a beautiful thing to watch, but it was like, as you kind of saw things unfold, it was super weird, okay? And like I said, Zay is my favorite. Zay had his moments where he was a little bit problematic to the viewers, but I'm like, Zay, I feel you. It almost felt like he gave her the ultimatum, but she was on there living her best life. You know what I'm saying? I honestly wanted Shanique and Zay, while they was together, I wanted them to get a little bit more handsy than what they did, but they were being respectful. So that was the synopsis as far as when they lived with each other. So you had some bonds that were forming or whatever the case is. Okay, so boom, now it's time to go back to living with your actual partner. Now Ray and Zay had a very difficult time because Ray basically ended up telling Zay, even though she brought him on the show and gave him an ultimatum, she said that she wasn't ready to be engaged after being with Jake. Like she was just all gone in her head. Okay, whatever. Then you had April and Jake. They were having a hard time because Jake wanted to be back with Ray's ass. I'm like, oh, okay. Madeline and Colby, of course, had a difficult time, because he had done some things. He was texting other people outside of the show. So he was super wild, y'all. Like, I'm like, damn, that's how we getting down, Colby. What's good, And then you had Randall and Shanique, who were also having their share of struggles. So then fast forward, we get to the reunion. Okay. Everyone was, of course, Netflix made us wait a whole week after they released one episode. So they released the finale of the series and then the reunion on the same week, a week after everyone saw episode 8. So we end up seeing that Madeline and Kobe stayed together. He proposed on the spot and they got married right then and there. So this was all like, I mean, it felt like it happened in like 10, 15 minutes. Okay. Which was extremely surprising to a lot of viewers from just what I've seen. And I was even surprised too. I'm like, damn, they stayed together. She seemed like she didn't even like him. Number one. Then you have Randall and Shanique. They stayed engaged with each other. So that was, I'm like, it's a beautiful thing to see. He kind of, was able to understand that she was really a good woman. And it's like, let me lock this girl down. April and Jake ended up walking away from the relationship. But what ticked me off with him was that he sat in April's face and told her, oh, I'm not going to run off with Ray. I'm not going to run off with Ray. And what did his ass do? Okay. He ran off with Ray. Now, Ray and Zay had broken up before everything. And one thing that I really didn't like as far as when they were recapping the season on the reunion, Ray laid hands on Zay and there was no repercussions or any type of, even acknowledgement of the fact that she punched him in his face, after he left and he stayed out all night, only after she told him that she didn't even want to be engaged to him. I'm like, sis, what do you expect? What do you want from this man? Like, we have real questions that need real answers. Okay. So you have that. Now we get to the reunion, of course, and whoa, Madeline walks out pregnant, pregnant with Kobe's baby. I'm just like, wow. I'm like, you guys were really, really getting it in. So she's like full on, like looking like she's about to give birth in any minute. Okay. We had that going on. Then we end up learning that with Randall and Shanique, they actually, they stayed together, but they did put a pause on the engagement. Okay. And things like that happen. I don't think that there's anything weird as far as that situation. April ends up moving on and finding a guy that knows what he wants, adores her. And I just felt like that was so good because when Jake came back to April after being with Ray for 3 weeks, he was a different man. He was a different man. He did not want her ass no more. And I'm just like this. You got this bodacious woman and you didn't let somebody else come in between your whole bond, boo. Get it together. Okay. Get it together. Then, of course, you have Ray's toxic ass and Zay. Okay. Now, with Ray, my whole thing is she's on the show, on the reunion. She's like, I was just so confused about my sexuality and everything. So she's dating a girl. She's not even dating Jake no more. They ran off on the reunion together. He got a 2 plane tickets to anywhere and they didn't even go anywhere. And then it ended up being revealed that she went back because they put them on blast, baby. He said, oh, you want to tell them why you didn't go on a trip with Jake? It was because you was effing me. When I tell you my mouth hit the floor, y'all, my mouth hit the floor. I couldn't believe it. So she got with Jake, messed things up with him, goes back to Zay, screws him over, only to end up with a woman. I'm like, baby, you are confused. Seek therapy. Seek therapy, okay? And of course, you had Nate and Lauren, who they were still engaged, but it still wasn't very clear from their answers on the reunion. Did she actually want kids? Did she change her stance on what she was brought to the ultimatum to actually do? And of course, Alexis and Hunter stayed together. They seemed like that they were the ones that it was just the most real as far as them. So that's pretty much the synopsis of what happened. So let's, go ahead and get into the takeaways because I think that it's really important to note that although this made for great reality TV, there were some things that could be taken away from the show. Number one being, if you can't answer why you want to marry someone or what you like about them, maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't marry them. Going back to Ray and Zay. Zay was very clear and expressive about how he felt about Ray and how much he loved her and he appreciated her and how she was this awesome woman. But when it came to talking about him, it seemed like it wasn't really anything besides the physical. And for anybody that has seen Zay, Zay is fine as hell. Okay. He is a fine black specimen, fine black man. Okay. So, of course, I mean, who wouldn't want to be, you know what I'm saying, bumping and grinding on somebody that's attractive? But when it came down to the depth of how she felt about him or saying nice things about him, she didn't have anything. But then she gets with Jake and she's just like open like a book at this particular point. So if you don't know why, or you can't answer why you actually want to move forward with the marriage, maybe it's not meant for you to move forward. I'm just saying, okay? Number two, maybe have the kids' conversation before committing to a serious relationship and before getting engaged. So it's very important in a relationship to talk about what are the next steps, right? Because it's all fun and dandy when you're having fun, vacationing, going out to dinner, having sex, whatever it is that you're doing with your significant other. But when we're speaking about the long-term things, as far as what does our life look like years from now, you have to really take stock of, do we want the same things? Kids, religion, finances, whatever it is that is important to you as far as having a long-standing relationship. You have to be able to make sure that you're having those conversations, especially about kids. Like, you don't want to be with somebody that wants kids and you don't want kids, or vice versa. Like, who wants to deal with that? All right, number three. It might be hard seeing your person with someone else. So make sure that you're ready before you issue an ultimatum. A lot of these couples, you could tell very quickly that once they got in the midst of the experiment and they had to swap partners, that they were having a difficult time like digesting the fact that, like, I brought my partner here basically to give them a free pass to cheat and do whatever the hell that they want to do during these 3 weeks, because basically they broke up for those 3 weeks until they got back together and they lived back with their original partner that they came on the show with. So it's super important to, you know what I'm saying, make sure, like, if you don't want to see your man or your woman or whomever with someone else, you got to make sure you're comfortable when you issue that ultimatum, because they could end up with somebody else. Number four, learn your partner's communication style. I think that when watching the couples living with someone else and then coming back to their relationship, they recognize some of the things that were missing and also some of the things that, like, maybe need to be brought into the relationship to make it better, which is a good thing. But you saw a lot of breakdown within communication on the show. And I just felt like that should be noted. Like, learn your partner's communication style. Number five, this is definitely just my tip and my takeaway. Like, don't gamble your relationship if you are not wanting to lose it, right? Like, we naturally, if you get in a relationship and it's a committed monogamous relationship, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have to gamble that relationship, don't gamble that relationship. Okay. Like, I need you not to do that if that's not something that you're comfortable with. All right. Now, wrapping it up, I have to share some of my favorite tweets about the ultimatum on Netflix. So the first one, this was from La Female Don. Okay. She said, man, I didn't expect the ultimatum to end like that. Zay got played. Madeline, Ray, and Jake are terrible humans. Everyone on the show needs therapy. What an unhinged, chaotic show. Give us 10 more seasons. La Female Don, girl, I agree. Absolutely. Like, we totally need another season of this right away. Okay, at Sydney Sussman 96 said, this show really solidified the reasons behind why divorce rates are so high. People neglecting and compromising on extremely important values like finances, having children, etc., just for the aesthetic and sake of being married. Hashtag the ultimatum. It was so toxic, y'all, but it was just like so good to watch. I literally binge watched it in like a day because I was like, this is crazy. But seeing a lot of the behaviors on the show, you can definitely tell why or how some relationships can experience a level of demise, right? All right, here's the next one. This is from at Cami Mark. I really want Netflix to cast more appropriately aged individuals for the next season of the ultimatum. Like, please, I don't care about 20-year-olds. Give me a 35-year-old who is desperate for marriage after being with her man for the last 8 years. Now that is television. That was the one thing that I could say that was a little bit awkward, was the fact that these people were so young. Like, I mean, I'm in my 30s, but when I think about my 20s, marriage was, of course, something that was, in my mind because I was in a committed, relationship with my now husband. But I'm just like, I mean, I wasn't like, I'm about trying to get down the aisle right now. I'm like, wait a minute, we need a little bit of time. Let's nurture this thing. Let's let it grow. Let's do what we need to do. Okay. So all in all, um, I agree. I would like to see some people who are a little bit older, who have had a little bit more of a long-standing relationship, giving the ultimatum so that it just makes a little bit more sense. Okay, last tweet. This is from the Sydney Coffee. She said, I'm on the finale, but all I have to say is the show is ghetto. Agreed. None of them needed to be together. All of the couples were too damn young to be giving ultimatums, and therapy is needed. Hashtag the ultimatum. I completely agree. Okay. Like it was just, they were so young and it was just so many wretched things that were happening. I absolutely couldn't believe it, y'all. It was insane to me. It was absolutely insane. So those are some of my favorite tweets about the ultimatum. So if you hashtag the ultimatum anywhere, you're going to see comments and posts or whatever the case is, because this is literally like the hot show that everyone is talking about. Okay. So you're probably wondering, if you haven't watched it, oh, where can I tune in, Miss Michi? It's on Netflix, y'all. Like, get a subscription, get somebody's Netflix. Okay, somebody loves you and wants to share their Netflix information with you. So make sure that you go and you tune in on there. And again, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. For me, I don't know about you, but I love me some reality TV. So we'll definitely be coming back, talking about some more of these crazy ass shows that are out. So I appreciate you for tuning in. Again, make sure that you're following the Blueprint Media Company and Miss Michi, that's me, y'all, on all platforms. So you can find it at the BP Media Co. and at Miss Michi. That's MzMetchi. All right. This was my reality bite for today. Okay. And I will talk to you next time. Okay. Bye.